evening. Greed. I think of greed as wanting too much, more than you need, wretched excess. By that definition, this is a monument to greed. It's the Vanderbilt mansion. If Vanderbilt had a motto, it must have been, excess is barely enough. The house is gargantuan, 250 rooms, yet it was all built for just one man to live in. This is the dining room. It's as high as a 5-story building. The dining room table seats 64. I guess when you're this rich, you make friends pretty easily. From here, you can take in the millions of dollars of art on the walls. Renoirs and Whistlers, Renaissance tapestries. Very beautiful, but isn't this greedy? Who needs a $100 million house? Who deserves to have this much? Of course, Vanderbilt isn't the only person to have more than he needs. Today, there's plenty of excess around. Junk bond king Michael Milken paid himself more than $500 million. Who needs that much? Hotel mogul Leona Helmsley, now a billionairess, sued to get the bulk of her late son's estate. That left his kids with less than $500 each. Isn't there a name for someone like that? Former Philippines First Lady Imelda Marcos took tax money from people who could barely afford food and then used it to buy lavish parties. This yacht and thousands of shoes. She needed them, she said, because she had to change clothes a lot. Haiti's even poorer. Yet while people here were starving, Haiti's rulers, the Duvaliers, they called him Baby Doc, lived in this palace and spent millions shopping. Yet Mrs. Duvalier had the nerve to tell Barbara Walters,
I don't believe the money was badly spent.
Even religious leaders aren't ashamed. Jim and Tammy Faye didn't try to hide the fact that they had mansions and Rolls Royces.
They say the only difference between men and boys is the price of their toys.
And the rich keep getting richer. Now, to reach the top of the Forbes richest Americans list, you have to have billions. One of these billionaires, Ted Turner, says the magazine's ranking makes them want to get even richer.
You're on this list, you see, and you want to move up the list. You want to be number one. Nobody will ever catch Bill Gates. Warren Buffett isn't going to catch Bill Gates.
You billionaires look at this magazine and you say, I want to be higher?
Of course they do. Absolutely. Just like Michael Jordan looks at the basketball, who's the scoring champion, you know.
Everybody wants more.
Sure, that's capitalism.
And that's okay.
I think it's okay. It's your money. I believe in private property. You can do whatever you want to. You want to buy a big yacht, you can buy a big yacht.
You make no moral judgment? It isn't a little repulsive if somebody spends it all?
Well, that's up to other people to decide.
But in America, capitalists are vilified. People hate them.
Who does?
Well, lots of people do. It's part of the culture.
No, 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 Snidely Whiplash. Do not foreclose the mortgage. It's 40 below zero.
So wear a sweater.
You go on the street, there's this impression that rich businessmen are evil.
You know, my wife she wouldn't say evil, but she was so surprised when she was dating. I was the only businessman she ever dated. She said, I just never thought I'd marry a businessman.
His wife is actress Jane Fonda, no stranger herself to earning pots of money. But people don't usually call rich actresses evil or greedy. They don't call Michael Jordan greedy, though he rakes in more than $1 million a week. Why is it okay for entertainers or sports stars, but unseemly when someone in business rakes it in? Well, let's look at this word greed. Greed is bad, right? Yet we like the scientist who's greedy for new knowledge, or the artist who's greedy to create something new.
You want to get to the top, be a big executive, or be a movie star, or be the best in sports.
Ted Turner was always greedy to succeed at something.
I tried football, baseball, basketball, track and field, wrestling, boxing. I did everything. I was a klutz.
So he took up sailboat racing and became greedy to win. He succeeded. He won the America's Cup.
America is about competition and rising above that competition. That's at the basis of what makes our economy and our society tick.
Isn't that greedy?
Well, sure it's greedy.
And most of us will act greedily given a chance. This is what happens when Filene's Basement holds its quarterly wedding dress sale.
We're going to play a game.
Psychologist Julian Edney tests people's greed by putting dollar bills in a bowl and saying, at the word go, you can get as many dollars for yourself as you can. But every 10 seconds, if there's money left, he'll double it.
If there's $2 left in the bowl, I will put another $2 in.
But the game ends if the contestants empty the bowl. So what happens?
Ready, steady, go.
They could have made more money if they just left half the bills in, but they don't work that out. Even when we let them do it again. And again. Most of us want more for us. Frankly, I didn't see many of you turning down your last pay raise. So maybe it's just excessive greed that's the problem. Vanderbilt and others, after all, were called robber barons. Their wasteful selfishness is what robs other people. Or does it? We're back at Mr. Vanderbilt's house, which to me looks like a perfect example of greed. Who needs this much house? Just looking at its size makes me think of all the poor people who don't have a house because robber barons like Cornelius Vanderbilt took so much.
With the money you're going to make,
the movie Wall Street gave us reasons to resent the rich.
So tell me, Gordon, when does it all end, huh? How many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough?
It's not a question of enough, pal. It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Money itself isn't lost or made, it's simply transferred.
A zero-sum game, Michael Douglas calls it. That means if I win, you lose.
Painting here?
That's really a child's view of how the world works.
Philosopher David Kelly studies markets.
It's like we're all children sitting around the dinner table and a pie comes in. It's dessert time. Mom sets a pie down on the table. If I get a bigger piece, you get a smaller piece. But in reality, there's no mom there putting a pie down on the table. We're producers. We create wealth.
Bill Gates is a good example. He's now the world's richest man. He's got about $40 billion. But does his having $40 billion mean the rest of us have lost $40 billion? No.
It's been fantastic.
See, this is the fallacy, that there is some pool of wealth there that's fixed, and if I take more, you get less. That's not true. Wealth is constantly being created.
Gates got so rich by making the pie bigger for everyone.
A key benefit of Windows 95 is that
he actually baked a whole new pie. His software created new ways of saving time and money, created thousands of new jobs. Baby Doc got rich by forcing people to give him money. He could do that because he was the government. If he didn't pay his taxes, his troops could jail you. Or worse. It was the same with Imelda Marcos and the British royal family. They got the money they have by using the power of government to compel people to give it to them. The capitalist can't do that. Bill Gates may be just as greedy as Baby Doc, but to get your money, he has to persuade you, entice you.
We designed Windows 95.
To do that, he has to make something that we will willingly give him money for. All commerce requires both parties to benefit. Take the simplest example. I buy a quart of milk.
$1, please.
I hand her the dollar, she gives me the milk. We both benefit because she wanted the dollar more than the milk, and I wanted the milk more than the dollar. This is why often both of us say,
Thank you.
Everyone wins, unless someone cheats.
You see products advertised that seem too good to be true.
I spent years warning you about the cheaters.
Solar-powered clothes dryers, only $50. And what did they get in the mail? A clothesline.
Greed is a terrible thing if it leads people to cheat. But over the years, I noticed the cheaters rarely get that rich. People wise up, stop buying the product. To get really rich, people usually have to work very hard at giving you something you want. Better cars, cheaper clothes, faster food, whatever. The businessman has to win you over.
From day one, he has to be concerned with who's buying this. What need am I satisfying? And if that's called greed, then I say greed is good.
Greedy, greedy, vicious, greedy, destructive people.
Greed. Everybody's greedy.
It's not destructive?
No, a certain amount of it's probably healthy.
In their day, John D. Rockefeller and Cornelius Vanderbilt were depicted as evil. Vanderbilt leeched off the poor. Rockefeller was a snake. But the name-calling rarely came from consumers. It was competing businessmen who complained, and newspapers lapped it up, calling the tycoons robber barons.
You could not find a more inaccurate term for these men than robber barons. They weren't barons, all of them started penniless, and they weren't robbers because they didn't take it from anyone else.
They took it from their customers.
Not from the customers, they kept selling the products cheaper and cheaper.
Vanderbilt got so rich by pleasing lots of people. He did that by making travel and shipping cheaper. He used bigger ships, faster ships. He served food on board. People liked that. And all this lowered his costs so much that he cut the New York to Hartford fare from $8 to $1. Rockefeller got rich selling oil. Competitors and the government called him a monopolist, but no one was forced to buy his oil. Rockefeller had to persuade people by offering it to them for less. And he did. Working-class people who used to go to bed when it got dark could now afford fuel for their lanterns. Suddenly everybody could stay up, read, learn more.
Exactly. It gave people who, remember, were working probably 10, 12 hours a day, it gave them a private life. The consumers were better off, the workers were better off, and, of course, they themselves were better off.
I'll say. So we can call them greedy. But the fact remains that their greed did more than make them rich. It gave the rest of us good things. That wasn't their goal. Their goal may have been just greed. But to achieve that, they had to give us what we wanted.